Today we have Dom Zimmerman and Axel Mazella. We're going to be talking about the Pocket Rocket V2. You would not believe the amount of people that are waiting for this parawing to come out.
Well, obviously the wait is over now. It's got all the good attributes from the PowerPack, but it's got the performance of the Pocket Rocket.
Let's start with the bar system and work our way up. What were the biggest changes that you guys introduced to the bars?
Using the bow line, so there's no more middle line on the bar. Changes the angle of attack more and the ratio, and it's way more progressive.
What type of lines are you guys using?
So we changed to a new line where we apply a special coating, so it's kind of slidey.
How does the Pocket Rocket compare to the PowerPack when it comes to that stowing element? Bridling system in the Pocket Rocket similar with outer A's, separate from the inner A's. Tell us a little bit about how the shape of the parawing has changed. Man, I'm so excited about this parawing. You would not even imagine. Is there space for a third model in the parawing lineup?
As you said, now we start racing. We're working on something, but it's not quite a hybrid. So
keep them guessing, Dom. Welcome to the LabRat Foiler Podcast. My name is Dan, and today we have the head of R&D at Ozone, Dom Zimmerman, and Axel Mazella, part of the R&D team as well. Welcome, boys. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, well, hello again. Good to be back here.
This is an exciting one for myself. I'm pumped. I had a coffee and I've been thinking about this parawing for a long time. We're going to be talking about the Pocket Rocket V2, which is now in the market, and we're recording this a few days or weeks. I'm not even sure when it's coming out, but I'm excited about this, guys, because the PowerPack came out and it had so many interesting features to it, a lot of things with just parawing ergonomics that I like to call it now that are really a big step forward. So I really want to start maybe just by giving us a little bit of a historical playback of what happened like after the PowerPack was launched and all the feedback came in from the new features on the PowerPack. How has that influenced the design of the Pocket Rocket V2?
Well, yeah, pretty much quite a lot, obviously, because those features on that we came up on PowerPack, they were quite essential for the design of the Pocket Rocket as well, and it's kind of into the next level now, paired with the performance of a Pocket Rocket, and they obviously. Some features are a little different to the PowerPack, such as the line and the angles and there's junctions in the lines now on the Pocket Rocket due to the amount of ribs that we are supporting and we're having. But it's very much inspired by the PowerPack, yeah.
I'm happy to hear that, because when I first received the PowerPack, I started just noticing little things, and then I started just running my lines through the A lines, and I noticed the bridling system, which was like, wow, okay, you really thought about how people are using this. I mean, we never had a product in the market that we actually had to touch and interact with so much. So I think for me, I like to think about as a designing exercise, like what were the topics and the features in the V1 that you guys knew that you wanted to improve for the V2 of the Pocket Rocket?
Well, the most obvious was the line length that needed to become shorter. Like most people were having problems stashing pulling the lines in one go, especially on the big sizes. At the same time, so obviously now with on the V2, we brought that down to a decent length. So all sizes are pretty much in an arm reach. Apart from the 5.7, it depends how long your arms are, but for us it's still doable, and we are like around 180, 185. So it's still it's there, but it needs a certain length still to support the canopy properly, and it's a lot of material there, a lot of span.
And it's also size dependent because, for example, as Dom said, the big sizes got arm length bridles, but the small sizes we found out that if we go too short, the parawing start to be too crazy. So we've done the other side that we extend a little bit. So we are still in the arm length, but a little bit longer to make them more stable.
Yeah, that's interesting because not many people mention that, but the smaller sizes, because of the size, but also because of the proximity to your body, you get a lot of, is it just turbulence that you get from being too close to you?
From everything. Hey, it's the wind, first of all, that's pretty strong, and then it goes over, wavy waters. It makes it swirly. The stronger winds are usually a bit more gusty in general. And then you as a person in front of it as well. So it kind of all adds up, those aspects, yeah. So having the parawing rather away from you helps tame it down a bit because it's already very fast and hectic.
Yeah, interesting.
On the other side, I think that another important point was the line material itself. We're now using the stiffer material that we introduced on the PowerPack. And that's now throughout on the pocket rocket, on the front and on the back lines.
Nice.
So a bit thicker, a bit stiffer mainly. So there's pretty much no chance of getting them tangled anymore.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to touch on all these aspects and features of the parawing individually. I want to also help the viewers understand, like, what style of parawinger does this V2 really suit? Is it, the all-rounder? Is the person really wanting to go upwind? What are you guys aiming to cater for with this one?
The pocket rocket stays pretty much in the segment it was released on the V1 for, so it's kind of the all-rounder. It does it all. If you're unsure which way you want to be going or you are going, it's the one to pick. It pretty much does it all. It shoots upwind. It's a really good upwind now. I'd say at least the same as the V1, even though we reduced the numbers of cells, we reduced the aspect ratio to make it a bit more compact and a bit easier to fly, which also on the other side helps the low end quite a lot. So the low end has improved massively on it. But yes, it's from beginners to the high end rider. It serves it all really.
Awesome. Well, I have a few photos here that we're going to be putting and overlaying on top of the next few topics that we're going to talk about. But let's start from the bottom up. Let's start with the bar system and work our way up the lines and the canopy. Well, starting with the bar, Axel or Dom, feel free to jump in this one. But what were the biggest changes that you guys introduced to the bar system?
On the bar, the main changes are that we are going for 2 bar lengths. So the big sizes until the 3.6 are going for 36 centimeters. And then the small sizes, so from the 3, 2.4, and 1.9 are using 33 centimeters. Mainly because the steering is good enough. We don't need something longer compared to the V1. And it makes the stashability even better as soon as it's into your stash harness. That's way smaller. So yeah, that's mainly what happens on the bar. Also, the bar hand are also a bit different. It irritates from the PowerPack. So the riser line, the A and the Ks are going directly through the bar hand to get more direct feeling without having the little leader line like the V1.
Yeah.
Just make the feelings more direct.
And obviously the main feature, I think, it's kind of, because for us it's kind of now a given, is using the bow line. So there's no more middle line on the bar like it is on the V1. You basically got three freehand movement along the bar, just like the PowerPack got introduced with the bow line. It's the same, a similar bar on the Pocket Rocket now.
What's what kind of difference in the feel of the parawing does this bow system introduce? Because I felt a big difference when I was testing the PowerPack for the first time. It was almost as if your movements on the bar were not amplified, but you had more to play with before you actually stalled the parawing. And I felt like previous versions or just other parawings with the 3 points of attachment, they were very quick to reach that point of stalling the parawing. So it's almost like you could sheet in and sheet out and feel that difference in the parawing a little bit more. Am I completely like crazy here, or is that kind of like what it does?
Yeah. No, that's correct. Yeah. That's what this system does. So it changes the angle of attack more in a ratio of the wing, and it's way more progressive. So yes, what you feel as a rider is you're not having that on-off feeling, as you described it, because when you depower, it's all off. While on the new bow bar, it's kind of a bit more progressive, and the same goes with if you putting power on. You've got a way later stall point, and you feel the progressive of the power increasement and of the pull coming from your wing.
And I think it's also help us to keep tension into the canopy when we sheet out. And before on the V1, we were not really able to sheet out and keep steering the parawing. While now with the bow line, this is possible. So you still have more control into the canopy when you sheet out and for steering in high wind range.
Yeah.
Or
Nice.
for tax,
It
for
makes
example.
total sense. Yeah, it makes total sense because I still see footage of, drone footage where in overpowered days, the pocket rocket just like flapping because you are fully sheeted out. But with the PowerPack, it's almost like it maintains its shape. You are sheeted out, but there's you still have a little bit of the steering, which you need to do tacks and tricks like that. That's a really interesting point.
And the big flap, just coming back to that quickly, the big flap is always creating a lot of drag. So it's almost annoying and counterproductive having that big flap. So the cleaner the surface can stay, the more efficient the depower will be.
Yeah, lovely. When I think about a bar system as well, I also think about connection points to harness. Is the harness line connection still the same, that 1 point connection system that Ozone has with a couple of different sizes, or was anything changed on that regards as well?
Yeah, it's still the same principle, but we reworked the harness line, the fixed loop harness line. It's now got rid of the Velcro that goes over it to secure it. It's now a self-locking system, so it's just a loop through, very low profile, so you can easily run your hand over it and hold it. Super smooth. That's just been released as well a few days ago.
Yeah,
and
nice.
It's now available and highly recommended. It's a way nicer, cleaner system now with less clutter on it.
Yeah. Well, I rode for a whole year without a harness line, and
I remember last time we spoke, you was like, "Oh no, I'm riding without." And now in the last videos, I spotted you finally came to the dark side.
I have some Popeye hands though. Now I grew my muscles in my arms, but
they're gonna shrink now.
Yeah, they're gonna lose a little bit, but it was hard to find something that I liked, to be honest, and that's the reason why. And I think there's a balance of being malleable, but also being rigid, because like coming from a kiting background, I like, if I'm going to hook in, I want to hook in like a chicken loop where I don't want to look down, if it's, and I used to use just a Dyneema line because that's low profile. So that there's an advantage there. But as soon as I wanted to hook in, I needed two hands, and I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. So I decided not to use it. And then you guys send me a few like, yeah, give it a try. Maybe you'll change your mind. And I used that 1 point connection system, and now it's pretty much impossible to not use it, to the point where I need to get some more because I want to put them on all the Parawings so I don't have to change when I'm going from a 3 to a 4 or a 4-3. I don't want to change it on the bar. I just want to have all the bars with that on already. So that's something that for me kind of was a big game changer. And I think it improves, not only fatigue, which, over the course of a year I kind of overcame, but just your posture and your upwind angles, the ability to just feel and fine tune the trimming of the parawing when you're really overpowered and going fast. You just get more sensibility that way. So it took me a little while, but I came around, Dom.
Good. Finally. I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, you're totally right. And, I think anyone who is parawinging should be looking into harness system one way or the other. And as you said, we designed the fixed harness loop, which is quite stiff. So as you said, it's easy to hook in and out without having to look or guide it into the hook. There's some more versions coming that we're working on right now. There will be a 2-point system out of the same style and another one that we're working on right now. So there's something to choose for everyone. It depends on which system you prefer. If you like it to be stiff or a bit more floppy and easier to store away.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, stop what you're doing. It's time to win a Pocket Rocket V2. Let's go. The LabRat and Ozone May raffle is live, and you don't want to miss this one. Ozone has partnered with the LabRat Academy to help you guys get into parawinging. And this month, we're going to be giving out the most anticipated parawing launch in the market, the Pocket Rocket V2. Any size, any color, delivered right to your doorstep. The Pocket Rocket V2 comes with shorter bridles, and it's pretty much inspired by the PowerPack. It's an amazing bridle system, and also worth noting that now it comes with the bow bar system, so no B attachment points on the bar, making it cleaner for you to ride with both hands on the bar. But as well, it gives you so much more control when shooting in and shooting out. Finally, the Pocket Rocket V2 comes in a more compact shape, but with better upwind performance. So overall, it's a no-brainer, the parawing to have at the moment. So what do you need to do to be eligible for this amazing prize? Number 1, you need to go to labratfoiler.com and subscribe to the LabRat Academy newsletter. The LabRat Academy is where you can learn everything you need to know about parawinging with the online parawinging course. Number 2, you need to go to Instagram and follow ozone.wing. These are the beautiful people that are making this raffle possible, so go give them a follow. And number 3, you need to tag a mate in this post to make sure that you're spreading the parawing stoke. The raffle will be drawn at the end of the month on the 30th. You need to make sure that you're following all these 3 steps. What an incredible prize that everyone is in the running for. Thank you, Ozone, for supporting this initiative and helping people get into parawinging. Good luck to everyone. I'll see you at the end of the month. Well, we know that one of the biggest one of the weak points, let's say, of the V1 was the line length and the type of line that I don't even know exactly what type of line it was, but it was really prone to little tangles, especially on the redeploy. I would notice a lot those tangles on the B's and the C's where they would just kind of make a little knot, and no matter what you did, it would be very hard to undo that knot. So for the V2, what type of lines are you guys using for that? And just let's talk about the differences about the V1 and the V2.
So yeah, we changed to a new line that we worked on with our suppliers, with where we apply a special coating. And the lines is quite a major thing for us, as already for the V1, we tried a lot of different lines, a lot of other brands using sheathed lines, and then they stitched the loops, and that was like a no-go for us. So we wanted something that is running smoothly through your hands, which is already the case on the V1, but yes, the line wasn't really stiff enough. So that's why they got easily tangled and created little loops and stuff, especially when you were pumping and the lines were kind of dangling around. Now with that new line that we started introducing on the PowerPack, the coating we worked hard on that with our suppliers, and it's now way smoother running through your hands. So it's kind of slidey, and it's at the same time the line is quite stiff, so that makes it hard to create those little loops and knots at the end.
Nice.
And now it's pretty much that problem, I would say, it's solved, while still having an unsheathed line that runs very smooth through your hands with no knots and no stitches that can penetrate your skin when you're sliding up your hands.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And there are not that many brands out there that are focusing so much on that part of the parawing as Ozone is. And I'm really so happy about that, because when you're out in a session and you're doing laps and you're stowing multiple times in a session, I mean, the difference of having something like that and not having it is massive. Not only the not having any knots, but I think the thickness of the line is quite important. There were parawings that I used that first time I stowed, I just did my regular stow and ran my hands, and it was like I actually burnt skin through, like because it was so thin. And I think it's a little bit counterintuitive to put thick lines on a kite, because you're like, oh, performance, you want thin lines, and that's going to be better. But we interact with those lines way too much for them to be, below a certain thickness. And I think what you guys did with the PowerPack was amazing, because you could use that parawing for the whole day, not get any abrasion, and not have any points that were like, causing any damage to your hand. And I think that's going to continue to grow. I think we're also talking about ways that we can come towards the leading edge and grab more of the leading edge to make stows easier and things like that. How does the Pocket Rocket compare to the PowerPack when it comes to that stowing element and going and running your hands through the lines and, having the leading edge in a certain way for you to then proceed with the full stow? Is it just as easy as the PowerPack, or it's a little bit bigger? What should we expect?
There's more structure. There's more cells. There's more ribs and everything on the Pocket Rocket over the PowerPack. So the reason why the PowerPack is so easy, there's just very little leading edge to gather together.
Yeah.
So every rib and every cell means material and more stuff to get together. So on the Pocket Rocket, there's just more support. So there's more ribs, which adds to the bundle, basically to your leading edge. But it's still super easy, and compared to the V1, it's way easier because it's easier to reach, and then it's also easier to gather the leading edge together.
What I found, and this is something that didn't come from me, but from multiple people that I've been riding with, and we all share little hacks and stuff like that. We are in the PowerPack. We're choosing to, how the A lines are divided into maybe the front A's and the backwards A's, that they go to different parts of the leading edge. We're choosing to use only the front A's because you get closer to the leading edge rather than collecting all the A's that is already separated, which is a huge benefit. It's a tactile thing where you can just touch the lines and you know where you're at. Where I started doing a little bit of something I did in the past, where I did the front A lines, the 4 middle ones. I used to do a little electrical tape. Don't have to do that anymore. But now I do a little electrical tape between the front and the rear A's. And that has helped me to shave a little bit off my stowing time because you get to that leading edge a little bit easier. So is the bridling system in the Pocket Rocket similar with that, outer A's separate from the inner A's, and then you have front and rear A's as well?
Yes, it's pretty much the same layout, and as you
Mm-hmm.
said, we do have the same center A's. What makes the packing a bit more comfortable on the Pocket Rocket is that the front and the back A's, as you're calling them, are easier to come together because there's no reinforcement along the rib that kind of spreads them apart.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's probably one of the advantages of the Pocket Rocket now over the PowerPack, actually.
Nice. Yeah. And it's, look, those things are so, like, they're small details, but those are the things that make, that quick decision-making time and just feeling the parawing, not having to look at the parawing while you're doing a downwinder or something like that. It does make a big difference, especially when you're using something like that and then you move to a parawing that doesn't have it. You almost feel lost in the beginning. And I ride, a bunch of parawings all the time. And when I jump into something else, I'm always having to recalibrate and say, okay, this is where we're at. I put my little electrical tape where it needs to go, and I know where to put my hand. So I really like that you guys are focusing on this parawing ergonomic side of things, and I think it's just going to continue to get better and better, man. That's awesome. With the bridle configuration, so we spoke about this already. It's going to follow very much the same principle as the PowerPack, with how the A lines are separated from the external A's, middle A's. Anything else in the B's and C's that are different, or any features there that we should know about? And this could be anything from performance or just even color schemes on the lines. Are those maintained? Nothing changed there?
That's stayed the same, yeah. Still got running the red ones on the front and the black ones on the back, and then the blues on the middle. I think one thing to mention, and because a lot of people don't necessarily know it, but I don't know if you experience it. If you are riding in very light winds and you are jibing and you're trying to change directions on the wing, you know how it can be sometimes not enough to just use the bar because you're not getting enough steering input.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at, and that's been since the beginning, our bridle layout, on the back lines that go to the trailing edge, there's a separated outer line, basically, if you want so, where you can just pull the tip, and that kind of spins the wing around in very light winds. It's quite a helpful technique to do your jibes in the light wind, to just pull that inner tip in with one of the brake lines.
So I need to have a look at the photos, and I'll check out in that catalog to see if I can find a photo of that, because in talking to beginners and people who ride in the 15 knots or whatever, I always try to teach them the C line jibe is what we call it, where you place your hand on the inside external C line, so the C line that you want to turn into, and you basically pull the bar up and you push the line down, and you cause the parawing to pivot. Yeah,
that's the one. That's and exactly the same, but you're taking the brake instead of the seat, so you have more.
Well, I think for Dan, you're talking the C lines for you are the brake lines, isn't it? That's the back.
For me, it's ABC, but there's ABC, and then there's another one, the black
line. So okay, so we are talking about the same thing but different.
We are. But the B lines, you're right. Names. There are two B lines, so A, B, C, and then the last one's being D. But yeah, I think that's a very easy way to help the parawing pivot on itself, and so you can just get out of that jibe as quickly as possible, and when it's not that really strong winds. Hey, LabRat fan, I want to invite you to the LabRat Academy, an online parawinging course. I will explain everything from the beginning, how the parawing works, choosing the right gear, safety, land drills, getting up on foil, staying upwind, stowing, and much, much more. I want to help you learn how to parawing in less than 30 days. You will also get access to weekly video calls with myself to discuss your progression and make sure that you are on the right track. I want to offer everyone who is listening to the podcast 10% discount on the course as a thank you for following on this crazy journey that parawing has been. Add LabRat10 when you're checking out, and visit labratfoiler.com to subscribe. Now let's get to the interview. Well, cool. Look, let's move on to the shape of the parawing, because this is a big one for me. One of the reasons why I still ride the pocket rockets is because I can go upwind better than probably anything else I tried out there. And not only that, it's the speed that it allows you to ride in. So one of the things that I noticed when I tried the PowerPack was like, look, it goes upwind okay. It's not as good, but it's fine. But the speed that you ride with the PowerPack is too slow for me, because I got used to riding fast with the pocket rocket. So with the V2, tell us a little bit about how the shape of the parawing has changed. You said there's a little bit more of a lower aspect to it than compared to the V1s. But what does that reflect in the riding speed and sensation compared to the V1s? Because that's a big one for me.
Yeah, so for us it was, and as you said, there's a big difference between the pocket rocket and the PowerPack, and we didn't want to lose that attribute of the pocket rocket, which is the speed and the angle upwind. And we kept this by using a bit more performance profile. So we're shooting upwind very well on it. But at the same time as we increase the bottom end range. So, for you, it's it fits perfectly where you want it, but you're just having less of a handful of a wing, like, the aspect ratio and so on. So the handling is easier, and just everything becomes way easier with a V2, because it's a bit more compact and the bottom end has increased massively.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful, because even the pop-up techniques in low winds with the V1s, you had to really go at an acute angle crosswind, because if you went too far downwind, you would lose a lot of that bottom end grunt. But look, better bottom end, I think, is great, because I felt like the top end was, as good as I wanted it. Like, I didn't need to go any faster. I didn't feel like I needed more top end. I think what it would give us is possibly a little bit more wind range, if you had more, but it's not like what I wanted out of my pocket rocket was a little bit more low. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. If it still rides fast, like you say it does, I think it's going to be a very fun parawing to ride. When it comes to the fabrics, are you guys doing anything different with the actual fabric that you're using? Has that changed from the V1 to the V2? Because we did have the PowerPack as another iteration in the middle. Are we still expected to have the same fabric in the Pocket Rocket V1s as we have in the V2s?
Yes, it's very much the same. Yeah.
And that's that 32 gram fabric. Is it 30 or 32?
Exactly, yeah.
I can't remember now.
Yeah, it's a 32 grams. Yeah.
32 grams.
And it's really good. It's the longevity. We've been testing all kind of materials, but this is a good all round material. It still packs small enough. It's super durable, and it sheds off water quite well. So it's all it's needed really for a device like that.
Do you think it's like in the next, let's say 2-3 years? I mean, you guys have a great knowledge bank already of fabrics and what's happening in paragliding, and we kind of inherited that fabric from the paragliding world. Do you think there will be anything that will be more, let's say, water friendly, and something that we will create that will be a little bit different from what we have now?
At the moment, I don't really know because this is already, coated with stuff that makes the water shed off. Like it's not the nylon itself doesn't suck up the water anymore, so it's highly coated. And I don't know really. At the moment, I don't see the need for it really.
Yeah, I think about it because like when we start thinking about, racing and we have a couple races, that are coming up. And whenever we get to that kind of world, we're looking at the 1%ers and people start to put a lot of money into evolving the materials. And, like I think we're very early in Parawings where, even our technique can give us 10% improvements. But down the line, when we're going to all kind of converge into, the same kind of shape and overall, look of a parawing, I think that's when, the racing scene and materials and other types of parawings will come into play. Like obviously, a couple of brands have launched their hybrids. I haven't heard anything from Ozone yet about a hybrid, but that is, definitely picking up some momentum within certain circles. What do you guys think about the hybrid at this stage?
Yeah, it's a different, interesting concept. I'm not saying it's not the way to go for, but at the moment we're working on something, but it's not quite a hybrid. So
keep them guessing, Dom.
Keep teasing them, Dom.
Just fiddling around and try. It's a different concept from the hybrid, but it's fast.
It's fast.
It's super fast.
Yeah, I think we'll have another talk about that in a different episode. But
my next question was: is there space for a third model in the parawing lineup? Because and I don't know where that could come from.
As you said, now we start racing, so maybe there is something a bit more appropriate for racing.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I think it's awesome to hear that, because that kind of just evolution and just progression just keeps filtering down, and the gear will just get better. I think with the race now in Lukat, that's going to be super exciting to see people race, but not only go upwind and crosswind and whatever, but they're going to stow. Like, how's that going to work? I think I really enjoyed what they did with the format of the event, that they kept true to what parawinging is, that you have to get rid of it at some point. I think that's awesome. And I think for viewers, it'll be super interesting to see, like, all of a sudden, like, oh my God, they're not using anything now. Like, how does that work? So are you guys excited about the event? Any of you going? Who's racing? We need some people there, man.
Axel. we signed Axel up for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
You going?
Yeah,
Axel?
I'm keen. I'm not sure yet. Depends to the forecast. Depends to the work that we have to do here as a team in Mauritius.
The work is fine, man. Dom will give you a break.
Yes, exactly. If I have the green light, you unleash the beast, and I'm coming.
Oh, wow. All right. Game on. Let's go. Look, I think it's going to be a really it'll be a cool event to be part of, man. It's it's still at the inception, so I think even being there is just, it's an opportunity for you guys to influence the future of how those things should be formatted, because a lot of the stuff will be kind of decided on the spot. Should we pack down in an accessory? Should we not? Like, all those questions you guys will influence, because you'll be there racing, so you'll have a say. I think it's awesome, man. If you guys can go,
are you coming over?
I wanted to, but I had to, pick between Hood River and Lukat, and I'm a surfer, man. Like, I like racing, but if I have to spend my money, I'll go to Hood.
Okay, see you there then.
Yeah, nice. When are you going, Dom?
Yeah, somewhere in August, end of August, I think we're going. When are you?
I'm going to go early in the season. I'll go the last 2 weeks of June.
Bummer. Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll miss that.
it's still
Okay.
yeah. I mean, we'll
go
all
for
get
the
wind, but you guys will be
AWSI.
there for AWSI. Yeah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll try to go back for that, and I tried last year. I didn't make it. But that's more of a networking kind of thing, and
Yeah.
I don't know if I have back-to-back cash for it, but we'll see. We'll see. Well, let's get back to the paras because for people that are now, I mean, there's a lot of people, man. You would not believe the amount of people that are waiting for this parawing to come out to make a decision of what they're going to do with their quiver. So for people who are looking to get into the Pocket Rocket V2s, how would you recommend them building their quiver, or like what are the things that you would maybe tell them that this parawing is for? You said it's an all-rounder, but people that are on the sidelines waiting to see if they upgrade from the V1s or not, like what can you tell these folks? Because there's a lot of them out there, man. Everybody's asking me, when are they coming? What do they feel like? And, should I get one? Should I wait?
Well, yeah. Well, obviously the wait is over now, but get one. Yes, I can very highly recommend one. Obviously, it's definitely a big step up from the V1. All the negative points that have been addressed on the V1 or that have been mentioned in the one has now been addressed and kind of put into the V2. And if you want to describe what it is, it's kind of describe it as a crossover between the V1 and the PowerPack.
Yeah,
It's got all the good attributes from the PowerPack, but it's got the performance of the V1 Pocket Rocket. And it's a very nice package. Looking at a quiver, it depends obviously on the conditions you're riding them in. I'm not really fan of kind of leaving every other size out of your quiver because it kind of restricts you too much. And the way we create the sizes is so there is a big enough gap to the next size, but you can't really jump one. Like you can't really go from the 3.6 to the 5 because you're missing out on the 4.3. I mean, if you're really hanging on to dear life on the 5 and then you jump down to the 3.6, it kind of works. But it's the way we create the sizes is so, at least we want like 3 sizes or something like that.
Yeah. I think
3,
we're still at
3.6
that
and a
point
4.3 or there's not much overlap, I'd say. And you rather, and especially on the power on the Parawing, you want to be perfectly powered. Like they're not really fun riding them underpowered or overpowered. So, it's, and now we've got launched the mission pack, which is a little stash backpack where you can easily just put a spare one in or even 2. You can now go out and taking all your quiver, having one in your stash harness, 2 in your little backpack. You're taking all the quiver with you, and you just pick whatever suits the wind you're in. Really?
Yeah, pretty much. The and looking like going just back to the canopy, I'm looking at some of those release photos, and I feel like the compared to the V1, this one has more of that parachuto kind of shape as well on the trailing edge. Is that me just overlooking the images, or did you guys bring the trailing edge in a little bit like the PowerPack?
It's kind of cupping down. That's what you mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's when you apply tension to the back lines, obviously, yes, to the C's, how you call them. We call them the brakes, obviously. Then that's when it cups. Other than that, we actually have more support on the structure of the canopy. Like we've got more supported ribs than on the V1. That's obviously we had to do that to maintain the same performance or increase the performance of it upwind while reducing the aspect ratio.
And all these little cutouts and that I can see here, those are on that structural elements in the middle. That's just for Less
weight
material,
reduction.
less weight, water drainage, just...
That's on the ones you see on the diagonals, what you call them, diagonal ribs, which are spreading the load into the sail.
Yeah,
Basically,
nice.
from a bridle attachment point, you're supporting the unsupported sail with those diagonals without using bridle lines, pretty much. And yes, the cutouts are just weight reduction.
Nice. Well, look, I'm so excited about this parawing. You would not even imagine. What did you guys? I mean, you obviously, felt that progression very slowly because you would have tested a lot. But did you ever like go to one of the latest iterations of the V2 and then you rode the V1 again just to see what it was like, to just see how much it was it changed? Like, how did that feel? Because you guys ride that. You would have ridden a lot of prototypes before getting to that final one.
Yeah, quite obvious. Yeah, there was a lot of prototyping going on. So every time we jump back on the V1, and I can see why a lot of people like it, but for us, it's a no-go anymore. Like,
right.
What I find very difficult on it is the stall point comes very sudden. Like the back stall, you're kind of cranking on the bar and then it suddenly back flies. So you have to be super precise on it, while, with that new shape, lower aspect ratio in combination with the bow line and the whole setup, you just crank up on the bar and it still keeps on flying and just generates more pull to, pull you out or to pull you more upwind. It also feels like you're locking in more when you're riding upwind. Because you've got more range in the bar now without having to be paying so much attention on the stall point. You just lock yourself in and cruising upwind, like leaning on an angle, not having to balance so much with your body. It's a way nicer sensation. It just feels a bit more like hooked in kiting. Like you hook in and then you got your deep power to play here, and it's more progressive than just on and off.
Well, I have a question for both of you. And this is a personal question because we're all different and we all have different riding styles. But if you were to build a quiver with 3 parawings, what sizes would you choose and what models would you choose? And I think it's worth also giving us a little bit of understanding of the conditions you guys ride in, just so we can you can help us figure out what we want as well.
Axel, you start.
That's a hard
I
question.
haven't thought about it.
It's hard. Only 3. You have to get 3.
We don't need to make those sacrifices.
You just get everything. What's in the truck today?
That's a really hard question because we try to design those tool projects as good as possible. So it's a hard work for the customers to choose as well. I would say I will take the PowerPack as a small sizes and the Pocket Rocket as bigger sizes. Mainly because the Pocket Rocket has more performance, while as soon as you drop down sizes, it doesn't really, it's not that important anymore, because in a 2.4 or on a 3-meter parawing, you're going upwind anyway on a PowerPack or on a Pocket Rocket. Yes, you will go better on the Pocket Rocket. But the stashability is also pretty important, especially for me when I'm riding in France. As soon as there is 30 knots, there are huge waves, and the packability fast is super important for me. And then, I'm taking the Pocket Rocket as big sizes for going upwind better, faster, and mainly because when I'm riding light wind, I like to do like big laps, going as far as possible, and just put the parawing into the stash harness, forget about it, and do a downwind. So I will go for a 5 and a 2.4, and in the middle like 3.6, I think.
Yeah. So you're just doing exactly what Dom said not to do. Don't jump the sizes. We'll jump sizes. But you're a pro, man. You can do it. You,
Well,
what
You can do it.
what board and kind of foils do you use normally, Axel? What's the dimensions of your board and foils that you use?
Yeah, I'm mainly using 65 liters. I was using 75 before, but I'm now dropping down. Yeah, because I think I have good skills and hard pumping in a light wind. I can pump like a maniac, so I don't need a big board anymore. But I'm still using a big foil for light wind, like 880. And as soon as the wind is strong enough, I'm going for 680.
Yeah, nice. And how much do you weigh?
I'm about 83 kg.
Okay. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I always like to put some numbers for us because it's so helpful to know what you guys are riding as well and how do you think of, your riding. I think 65 for me is probably the lowest volume that I can still use a parawing that I can go upwind with. If I go under that volume, I start using parawings that are not that comfortable going upwind anymore. And then it's fine if you're doing downwinders, but I do a lot of lap riding. So for me, 65 is, it's pretty much that. I'm a similar weight to you.
I'm riding in 12 knots, so solid 12 knots, no problem with the 65 liter board.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quite there. I still use my 80 when it's 15 knots. 20 knots for me is when I start thinking about the 65. And then I'm pretty comfortable going on it. What about you, Dom? What's your 3 parawing quiver sizes and models and justification, please?
I think I would stick to just the pocket rocket, and depending on the spots, I think you want the 3 meters, the smallest. I wouldn't really want to go or feel the need to go smaller than that because even if it's like plus 30 knots, you're just going upwind on it anyways, and then you're packing it away, so it doesn't really matter too much. And the 3 has a good range. And then 3.6 and 4.3. I don't need a bigger one than a 4.3 really. I'm only 70 whatever kilos, 72, and I can make the 4.3 work in 12 knots.
Yeah, nice.
Like
what
that.
Board are you using, Dom?
55.
55. You dog.
Yeah, but
That's
remember,
pretty...
I'm 10 kilos below you.
True, but 55 is still a pretty small board. I think once you start going into the lower volume boards, like 5 liters plus or minus makes a lot of difference when you're in the 50, 60 range. But like a 90 or 95, it's the same stuff almost, really.
But I find I explained it in the other podcast as well. I don't understand why a lot of people still ride the big board, especially people that ride really well. Like there's no need. As soon as you're in a windy spot, you're going up on a small, you get the speed on a small board. Once you're on the surface, the smaller board is only advantageous because the pumping is easier. You got less mass, you got less wing stuff around, and obviously once you're foiling, it's way more fun anyway. Especially if you're going downwind, you're just way more maneuverable, and everything is way more fun. I don't understand why I see still a lot of people using big boards, to be honest.
Yeah, for me, when it's like 12 knots here, the problem is it's very, I think, location dependent. Like it's 12 knots, but it's 8 to 12 knots. So you really, and if you're out there for an hour and you want to maximize that hour, you don't want to be fluffing about waiting 10 minutes to get up for the right gust. I think that's where I still reach out for the bigger board. And the bigger board for me is the 80 liter. And I thought I wanted something bigger than that, but I definitely don't anymore. I think that's when I pull that out. And sometimes even going out on a bigger board with a super small foil is something that I play around with a lot. Those little levers where you up your board, but you can downsize your foil a lot more. And it's really depending on what I'm doing for the conditions and things like that. But I do think that having a 2-board quiver, and for me it's the 65 and the 80, it will almost give you a little bit of extra wind range on the Parawings that you own. So it gives you a little bit more option. So I think a lot of people still want that to maximize their quiver. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure if you're using a bigger board, even for us, if we are using bigger board, we can start even earlier in the low end, for sure.
Yeah. I would still never put a second board in my car or in my truck.
Yeah, true.
You know, if you can just buy a little 1 kilo parawing instead.
Yeah.
If you're going for a 5 or 5.7 parawing, it takes a lot of less space, costs probably less, and it's just, I don't know.
Then the board.
But for me, 2-board quiver is not. The board is just like, and if you go traveling, do you travel with 2 boards or you then sacrifice one? It's just like, and you know, we go around places a lot, so for me, it's important to just, you know, only want to carry around 1 board. That's plenty already.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, Dom is right. Like, we prefer working on wings and parawings design than having 2 boards and deciding which one to take. It's better to make the parawings more powerful than using a different board.
I like it. It helps us all. You mentioned a 5.7 though. We hadn't seen that size in the V1s. What are the sizes that the Pocket Rockets V2s are coming in?
It's the same sizes as the V1. So it's a 1.9, 2.4, 3, 3.6, 4.3, 5, and then the additional 5.7 now. Yeah,
nice.
Which works quite amazingly well. Dimitri, he's using it here all the time now because it's light wind season here a little bit. So he's out on the big one every day. Yeah.
He's out on everything every day, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Every time I talk to him, he's trying something new and doing some weird accessory. And he's a good guy to have around, though. He would give you guys plenty of feedback.
He does, yeah. It's good fun. Really appreciate it. And he's a charger. You know, it's like every day.
Absolutely.
What are you going to do today? What are we going to do today?
Where do you guys see this year going, man? Like, is there anything that is on your radar with how the sport is evolving now that changed from last year, that you're seeing trends coming up, or what are you guys looking at into how the sport's going to progress this year?
Well, I'm excited to see where all that racing format is going, and what if the public is actually jumping on that. I don't know if it's going to be a trend or whatever, but I'm quite excited to see what's happening down in Le Cat. And other than that, I don't know. I think probably another trend is the performance side of things, isn't it? It's always exciting. The more you progress and the better you get in a sport, to kind of have a new challenge, and either might it be speed or better upwind, or I don't know, something towards that direction. I think the performance side of things, we haven't reached the end of the performance side. That's for sure.
No, for sure. We're at the V2s. It's hard to imagine, man, that we're still in the V2s and the equipment is this good. I feel like the wings took a while to get as good as the Parawings got. It might be just, looking retrospectively, but I feel the Parawings, like even the V1s, man, the Pocket Rockets V1s for me are still the Parawings I go for. That's what I reach out when I'm going out, and I'm 80% of the time I'm using them, and they're still amazing. So we're still early, but I think we're moving very fast in terms of where the Parawings are already.
Yeah, I agree. It's super fast, and from all brands, like development is going full speed on it. While I think on the wings, it's kind of slowed down a bit more, isn't it? No, it's not. The steps are not as big anymore, obviously, as they are in a new sport.
Axel, where do you see Parawing going, man? What when you go out, you said you do a lot is it just lap riding, downwinders? What are you focused on, and what are you excited about for this year?
We had this conversation yesterday with Dom on the beach, saying that because I'm coming from racing and kite for racing,
Mm-hmm.
and since I stopped for joining full time the R&D team, I stopped racing and I've been fully involved. So now, because parawing is going faster and faster, the natural things are coming back to myself. So I want to go back racing again. And as Dom said, I'm super excited about what's gonna happen the next month. And yeah, I mean, racing is good. Is my passion for forever. But yeah, I'm super excited about what's gonna happen into the future, and especially what's gonna happen. I mean, excited about the feedbacks from the customers about the Pocket Rocket V2, because we put all of our effort during a year of development and work for this product, that now we are waiting to know what we can improve even more. We have that feeling that the V1 was easy to make it better because that was the beginning of the sport, and we released it pretty fast without working on it as much as possible. Now the V2 is a really finished product, and I think it's going to be even harder to improve. This is what I'm saying right now, so that's why I'm waiting for the customers' feedback to know in which direction we should go for the future.
Amazing, man. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to be riding Parawings every day and making them better. That's probably the best job in the world right now, man. So you are a lucky man, a lucky team. But guys, thank you for your time today, getting, this inside scoop into what's happening. The V2s are coming out. I'm extremely excited. This is definitely what I'm going to be riding for the rest of the year. So Axel and Dom, you'll get some feedback from myself. He doesn't even know. It might change. There's a third parawing in the way. I heard someone said that.
Don't talk too much. The rest
All
of
right,
the year
I can't sleep now, Dom. What is it?
It's all coming. It's all coming.
But thank you very much for coming on, and thank you for the passion of putting all the effort into these products, because they are definitely changing what foiling is and what foiling can give us as riders. So thank you, and I can't wait to get my hands on them.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us, and yeah, looking forward to hearing from your feedback about them.
I'm sure I'll be frothy, man. Thanks again, guys, and we'll see you soon.